Hi. What brings you up here today?
Well, we got OMG, GOP, WHY. It was supposed to be WTF, but we wanted to keep within propriety, unlike some of our elected officials.
So
this is...
I see the shirt for Social Security. Is there, like, specifically, or is it just general?
The main thing that I'm worried about is the general overthrow of democracy. No, I'm not exaggerating. They got masked, unidentified people out disappearing people from the streets.
Yeah.
What more does it take?
Do you think that the loss of democracy is happening now, or has happened before in history?
We were just having this conversation. The difference between authoritarians who succeed and those who fail is people getting out in the street. Failed in South Korea, you declared martial law and the streets were full.
Right.
See, Hitler succeeded because no one stood up soon enough.
So
we're standing up.
Just because you brought up South Korea, I'll point out my opinion is very few people know what happened in South Korea, understand that our government was behind this, and we actually control the South Korean military in treaties and their constitution, so we can activate their military for our purposes. So you think that it's now that authoritarianism is the problem, that people need to be in the streets? Or
I am staunchly, politically, unapologetically independent. I refuse to be with either party.
So you're post-duopoly, you consider yourself?
Post-duopoly, I don't even know what that means.
Okay, so let me before you make your point. Post-duopoly means that you don't believe in either Republican or Democrat party to address the needs of the working class.
Yeah, well, it depends on which
or
ones
you're kind of on the edge of post-duopoly. You're not fully in.
I am a Washingtonian.
Yeah.
George Washington abhorred the concept of any sort of allegiance to a political party.
Yeah.
Got too much of that. But that's one argument.
But that's deep.
That's like the Cheney.
That's way back.
No, not way back. This is Dick
Washington.
This is Dick Cheney versus Bernie Sanders. That's okay. That's one thing. When they agree on something, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not left. This isn't left or right.
Right.
This is, do we have a dictator, or are we keeping our democracy?
Yeah.
Because then we can argue about everything else.
Are you familiar with the 2012 Stanford study? I believe it is.
Not exactly.
If you can remember to look it up, they did a study, I think at Stanford, and it showed that the working class doesn't get any legislation. That all the legislation passed goes to the owner class.
Yeah, and you could say that both the Democrats and Republicans work more or less for that until they don't, and it's a back and forth. It's always a swing of the pendulum.
So like when we try to get minimum wage, when Joe Biden is president, they says, the parliamentarian comes in and says we can't do that.
All that is policy which we can debate under a democratic system. Under an authoritarian system, you cannot debate that. You're going to lose it.
I believe
to have this conversation. That's what I'm afraid of losing.
So that's what you're afraid of losing. But I would pose that has been creeping forward since at least John F. Kennedy was killed, and that we've had Reaganomics since 1980, and every official, most people who are elected are following along the lines of Reaganomics. I would even have arguments that Carter started it in what we call, what is it?
Oh, excuse me.
Sure.
I studied theology for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I know you can get to, I like to make things more simple. That's all great debates. We could spend all night over a jug of wine on that.
Yeah.
This is something intrinsically different. The big question is, can we have that conversation without a fear of unidentified, masked people coming to take us away who now have a larger budget than any military in the world except for the U.S., China, and Russia?
Yeah, I would
Who are you with, by the way? You're recording this, and I'm saying hi.
I'm not with anybody,
okay.
but I like to document stuff, and it's a good conversation.
Yeah.
So
Well, like I said,
I would
it's-
pose that we couldn't have conversations during the Biden administration.
And
so
I'm not,
we
oh,
couldn't.
No. We haven't actually. This is actually getting out now. You can make a reason for.
So let me ask you about
historians
this.
to
Are
say
you
why we got here?
Are
But
you familiar with the Cop City movement?
no.
Okay, so around the country, they've been building training facilities for police, right? They're grabbing up land and they're making training facilities.
Okay.
In the localities, the public has been saying no, and they've been totally ignored. In Georgia,
Not familiar with getting into the weeds on all that.
So let me just finish. There's a point to it. So in Georgia, the people have been fighting it hard, and activists has been coming from around the world. The police actually shot a guy, said that he had a weapon. They finally figured out, because of all the bullet holes in him, how they hit him and whatnot, that he was sitting in the Indian position, no weapons,
Right.
and the police were basically shooting at each other, but killed him.
Right.
So I would pose that the authoritarianism is just going forward, but it's been happening for a long time.
No.
Like you could see an acceleration with Trump, for sure. This is really not the anti-war that was posed as a candidate, for
No.
sure. And definitely, like, the people need to get together. We need to try to find where our areas are where there's going to be disagreement, debate, and it's going to be real difficult, and put it to the side and say the people's issues have not been addressed for a long time, at least since the 60s. I can't believe that I can't get on a high-speed train anywhere in this country and get somewhere quickly and efficiently. And I got to drive this
It's
speed.
a whole other thing now.
There's
The
so many
historians will
homeless,
sort out
drugs.
where the breaking point was, and we're trying to make sure that that breaking point now collapses.
Yeah, I think, like,
And then we can work on more
once
intrinsic
you
things.
hit a certain point in the a certain level of election, you know what they did to Kennedy, and that's in the back of your pocket. If I push too far, and this job is great, and I have better health insurance than anybody else in the country, I think, like, AOC started out as a person that, like, I'm going to do stuff for the people, and now she's just totally a Pelosi.
Okay. Well, I hope you got some good stuff. Put
Yeah,
it
it's
out there. Keep talking. And I'm just going to encourage you to fight for your right to talk.
Yeah, definitely.
right
I'd like to be
Because
able to
you-
talk
if you-
about
if you-
genocide in this
If
country.
you publish the equivalent of this in Moscow, you'll be disappeared.
I disagree. I know people who go
You'll
to
be
Moscow.
disappeared.
I know people who go to Moscow who have
Fine.
these discussions. They're not getting into trouble with because
Go
we're
to Moscow.
we're demonized so much of the other, and
Go to Moscow. Be effective.
So that's a xenophobic.
In an anti-Putin
That's
protest.
a
and see what happens.
That's a xenophobic.
Well, we already know.
And they tell us that the
It's been
Uyghurs are being oppressed in China. This is xenophobia. It's not true. People are being
No,
oppressed
no,
in
no,
this
no.
country. We
not
have
talking
we
about
have
that.
close to the largest incarcerated population in the world.
Okay.
Why are we locking so many people up? That didn't
Okay.
start with Trump.
A lot of things. And I
Wait
hope
till
we-
people, when they get, like, they
we're here
can't
so
get.
We can keep on talking about it.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
I'm
sure.
going to be for real because I don't think this is
Yeah,
going
yeah.
anyplace.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
name is Rick.
John, it's nice to meet you. It's
What's
a good
the name?
conversation. John.
John.
Good
Nice to meet you.
conversation.